Chapter 1186, Look at the Big Picture, 1, Haha. Eldest young lady, this ancient Yu-clan troop left many Dharma treasures in Dragon Elephant City, and this Heaven's Soul Gourd is only one of them. Many black-grade spirit weapons can only be used by people in the Yin-Yang perfected Lord realm. These spirit weapons are numerous, and a portion of them should be one stolen by the ancient Yu-clan from this mainland. Elder Bai Kuei looked at Enchanting and said. Upon hearing that, Enchanting nodded slightly and said, distribute all the black-grade weapons and Dharma treasures and dispatch some scouts to gain intel on that ancient Yu-clan troop. Yes. Elder Bai Kuei turned around and left. Qing Tang. Just as Elder Bai Kuei left, Valley Master Xianqin and Daoist Zijin rushed over to the hall hurriedly. Eldest young lady, that team indeed attacked Heaven City by force. Daoist Zijin looked at Enchanting and informed her quickly. Oh, Enchanting was in thought after hearing Daoist Zijin. Her guess was indeed right. What is the outcome of the battle? Enchanting asked. It is still unclear as of now. Perfected Xianqin paused for a while before continuing. However, Heaven City is easy to defend and hard to attack. Although there are not many powerful figures in the city, it has many natural advantages. If that ancient Yu-clan attacks Heaven City by force, it can conquer it, but they will have to pay a large price too. After knowing that the ancient Yu-clan troop began to attack Heaven City by force, Enchanting, however, ordered everyone to rest in Dragon Elephant City. In Heaven City, a faint light shot into the sky. Screams and roars filled the air. Many powerful figures arrived at the top of the city walls. With Gu Ye's orders, thousands of archers released arrows at the numerous ancient Yu-clan masses at the bottom at the same time. Why is ancient Yu-clan attacking Heaven City by force? A flustered young powerful figure asked. It's that Enchanting. An old elderly gritted his teeth and said, that lady used some means and actually conquered Dragon Elephant City, and even refused to return the city. The ancient Yu-clan lost their headquarters and thus displaced their anger on us. Otherwise, they would never attack Heaven City by force. Humph. Guyu sneered coldly. Send an envoy to Dragon Elephant City immediately and tell Enchanting to return the city. I'll go, said a certain young powerful figure. In Dragon Elephant City, a Yi family disciple entered the main hall briskly and cupped his fists at Enchanting. Eldest young lady, a Heaven City envoy requests for an audience. Enchanting was indifferent and spoke a moment later. Bring him in. Soon, the Yi family disciple led a young powerful figure from Heaven City into the main hall. Enchanting had some memory of this young powerful figure. Miss Yi, you stirred up huge trouble this time. The young powerful figure wore an exasperated expression as he walked into the main hall. With the flick of her sleeves, Enchanting turned to look at the young powerful figure and asked coldly, Oh? What do you mean by that? The young powerful figure snorted. General only wanted you to create a false image of Dragon Elephant City being attacked so that the rations from the headquarters can enter Heaven City successfully. However, you took down Dragon Elephant City and angered the ancient Yu-clan people who are attacking Heaven City by force now. How can you bear such a consequence, Miss Yi? Chapter 1187, Look at the Big Picture, 2. After a moment of silence, Enchanting suddenly snickered from her host seat. I'm afraid you have misunderstood some things. Oh, misunderstood some things. What do you mean by that, Miss Yi? The young powerful figure asked with a frown. Firstly, the ancient Yu-clan is this mainland's enemy. Being able to conquer their main city is my capability and my freedom. Secondly, I don't belong to any camp and only wish to protect the ordinary cultivators of this mainland. When I headed to Heaven City to provide support, I was there as an ally not as your subordinate, replied Enchanting. What did you say? The young powerful figure was instantly enraged. Enchanting, I don't care what you plan to do. Return Dragon Elephant City to the ancient Yu clan immediately. Otherwise, can you bear the responsibility of Heaven City being conquered? Enchanting shook her head as she sized up the young man before her. People like you are really the product of this mainland's dark era. You. The young powerful figure glared at her furiously, and his martial aura surged into the sky. However, before he could take any action, Elder Bai Kuei, Daoist Zijin, and the other young lords entered the hall and eyed that young powerful figure coldly. The young powerful figure was startled and extremely shocked to see many young lords in the hall suddenly. How was there still such a force in the south battlefield? Could it be that Enchanting could conquer Dragon Elephant City because of this force? Young man, I will spare your life today on the account that you are also a citizen of this mainland. Ha ha ha, Valley Master Xianqin, if the ancient Yu clan is willing to recruit a lackey, this kind of person will definitely be the first to wag his tail at and surrender to them. Why not just kill him? Forget it. The Great War has already begun. Even if they die, it's better to die on the battlefield, Daoist Zijin said. At this instant, the young powerful figure remained rooted to the ground rather stiffly and even did not dare to breathe loudly. There were many young lords in the hall, and it would only take a second for them to take his life. Scram off to where you came from. Enchanting shouted sometime later with an icy gaze. Get lost. Valley Master Xianqin said with a frown when he saw that the young powerful figure did not move. Farewell, the young powerful figure gritted his teeth and left. Once he was out of Dragon Elephant City, Elder Bai Kuei looked at Enchanting and said, this kind of people truly deserve to die. We conquered the ancient Yu clan's main city, but he still wanted us to return it to the ancient Yu clan. What does he view us as? Since when was there a logic where one had to return the enemy's home ground back to the enemy during a war? Gu Yu and the rest merely wished to protect themselves and did not consider the situation of the entire war. They actually wanted Enchanting to give up on the one victory in order to ensure their personal safety. How could such a selfish person become a general? Humph. I really don't know what to say. Valley Master Xianqin said coldly. We should have killed him just now. He is a scourge even if we spare him. A peak master of Falling Sky Valley commented. Enchanting shook her head. What Elder Zijin said just now is right. Even if they die, they should die on the battlefield. Chapter 1188, Look at the Big Picture. 3. Eldest Young Lady, what should we do next? Elder Bai Kuei looked at Enchanting and asked. Almost the entire south battlefield had fallen to the enemy's hands, and only the ancient clan master's area was still struggling to hold out. However, they might not hold out much longer, and the south was to be lost. Wait. Enchanting gazed afar as she uttered slowly. The war had already begun, and everyone, including herself, may die. Enchanting could not be certain of the outcome, and what she could do now was to take one step at a time and protect little Yuyun. 2 days later, there was finally news from the scouts that Enchanting sent out. Reporting. The ancient Yu clan conquered Heaven City fully in half a day. The scouts entered the hall and informed Enchanting and the rest with cupped fists. How is that ancient Yu clan troop? Enchanting asked. There are many casualties. One of the 3 young talents of the ancient Yu clan died. Heaven City also has a high casualty rate. Continue to get more information. A glint flashed across Enchanting's eyes as she waved her sleeves. Yes. Half a day later, the scouts notified that the entire Heaven City had been conquered completely and that Gu Yu and the other powerful figures were fleeing toward Dragon Elephant City at top speed. Enchanting immediately led the rest to the top of the city walls and inspected the place ahead. 15 minutes later, as reported by the scouts, Guyu and the other powerful figures from Heaven City were fleeing toward Dragon Elephant City swiftly like homeless dogs. In no time, they reached the foot of the city walls with dozens of ancient Yu clan figures right at their tails. "Miss Yi, hurry up and let us in." Guyu looked at Enchanting and said repeatedly. However, Enchanting did not have the slightest intention to open the city gates. "Enchanting, what is the meaning of this? Brother Guyu is the overall general of Heaven City. How dare you defy his orders?" Several Heaven City figures looked at Enchanting and shouted sternly immediately. Enchanting, however, snickered coldly. "That is not so. I just feel that your battle has not ended." "What did you say?" Guyu's eyes twinkled coldly. "Did I not say it clearly enough? You all have not finished this battle. I believe that given your skills, facing 10 or so ancient Yu clan figures will not be a problem. Once they are dealt with, we will naturally open the city gates and welcome you all," Enchanting said. "Enchanting, how dare you forbid us from entering the city? You're courting death." An elderly glared at Enchanting and shouted furiously. Nonetheless, Enchanting no longer gave any response. Swoosh! At the same time, the ancient Yu clan figures had already caught up with them. Seeing that there was no other way out, Guyu ordered with clenched teeth. "Fight it out with them." With that command, the Heaven City figures were locked in a battle with those ancient Yu clan figures. It had to be said that Guyu and the rest were exceptionally skilled. An hour later, more than half of the ancient Yu clan figures were slain, though such deaths also happened to Guyu's side. Until the very last minute, Enchanting still did not have any intention to open the city gates. Enchanting did not take pity on Guyu and the others. In their occupation of Heaven City, when had they truly thought of fighting the enemy? All they wanted was only to protect their lives. Chapter 1189, Look at the Big Picture, 4. In such a critical situation, Guyu, as the overall general of Heaven City, did not look at the big picture and instead sent her, who went to aid them, to death out of his selfish desires. How could such a selfish person defend this mainland? If such generals were aplenty, how could this mainland resist the invasion of the ancient Yu clan? As a general, one should protect the city with his life and fight the enemy army to the end instead of dragging out an ignoble presence. Since Guyu did not know what a general should do, Enchanting would help him fulfill the mission of a general. There was no reason nor humanity in this war. As long as one could achieve victory, any method was justified. The outcome of this war concerned the safety of this entire mainland. If everyone did not fight with their lives, defeat was inevitable. Even Enchanting was prepared to die. After killing Guyu and the rest, the remaining ancient Yu clan figures were jointly killed by Elder Bai Kuei and the rest, who were in ambush from the start. Without Guyu and the rest giving their all, Elder Bai Kuei and Daoist Zijin would definitely be wounded. Then, Enchanting opened the city gates and walked out of the city. Looking at the bodies of Guyu and the rest who died in the battle, she bowed slightly and muttered, "Thank you." Regardless of whether they were good or bad or a friend or foe, when they were still alive, they still made a contribution to this mainland at the last moment. This bow was not to Guyu and the rest but to those warriors who lost their lives in the battle to protect their homeland. Listen to my command. All the powerful figures in the city, attack. Heaven City. No one shall stay behind. Enchanting shouted deafeningly from the air. Kill. Hundreds of Yi family disciples echoed uniformly. Where are the 12 peak masters of Falling Sky Valley? Enchanting scanned the surrounding. General, we are here. 12 shadows bolted over swiftly. The 12 peak masters are to be in the vanguard. Take down Heaven City regardless of the price. Spare no resistors. Enchanting ordered coldly. Yes. As she spoke, the 12 peak masters turned into 12 shadows and disappeared from the sky. Has the war of this mainland finally begun? The little white tiger shook its head. It jumped out from Enchanting's arms, and its body enlarged instantly. Good timing. Coincidentally, my stored energy is sufficient. I will fight alongside you. The little white tiger looked at Enchanting and said. There was a tinge of a smile in Enchanting's eyes as she looked at the little white tiger. Then, she leaped up and sat on the white tiger's back. A moment later, outside Heaven City. The Blood Moon Elder's enormous body was as tall as Heaven City, and he could see the situation in the city clearly without flying in the air. That ancient Yu clan troop suffered a huge loss in order to occupy Heaven City by force, and this was the best time to conquer Heaven City. Elder Enfo. Many ancient Yu clan figures' expressions changed when they saw Blood Moon Elder. They already knew that Elder Enfo betrayed ancient Yu clan and joined this mainland. Although Heaven City had a topographical advantage and powerful figures were unable to fly, the ancient Yu clan were astonished to see that Blood Moon Elder was still taller than Heaven City by a head. Have you seen enough? The Blood Moon Elder shouted furiously, and his fists were like a giant mountain that violently crashed toward the masses at the top of the city walls. The powerful cultivators of the ancient Yu clan were caught off guard and were pulverized by the Blood Moon Elder's mountain-like fists. Mercy for those who surrender. Death to those who resist. The 12 peak masters of Falling Sky Valley, hundreds of Yi family disciples, everyone from the Sea family, and the branch masters of the Yi family all suddenly appeared on the Blood Moon Elder and immediately leaped onto the wall. An intense battle between the two sides swiftly commenced without warning. At that moment, White Tiger also appeared on Blood Moon Elder's shoulder. Leading Enchanting, it leaped onto Heaven City's city walls in a single motion. Lightning curses and the gleam of swords instantly filled the entire area. Half of the dozens of powerful cultivators from the ancient Yu clan who were patrolling the walls of Heaven City were killed before they even knew what hit them. Some of them recovered their wits but were smashed by the Blood Moon Elder's fists before they could fight back. However, after a moment, increasing numbers of ancient Yu clan cultivators became alarmed. They immediately hurried to the city walls. At that moment, the old man, who was the overall commander of this troop from the ancient Yu clan, was enraged when he saw that Enchanting, the Blood Moon Elder, and the others had sprung a surprise attack on Heaven City. They had already sustained heavy losses from forcibly occupying Heaven City. Now they had to face a formidable enemy, and they were momentarily caught off guard. Actually, Heaven City's terrain was hazardous. It was easy to defend but difficult to attack. It should have been extremely difficult for anyone to try to invade the city after they had occupied it. However, the old man had overlooked Elder Enfo, who had betrayed the ancient Yu clan and gone over to this mainland. Elder Enfo's body was so huge that the advantages of Heaven City's precipitous terrain, including the fact that no one could fly over it, were all lost. So what if no one could fly over Heaven City or that the terrain was hazardous? All Elder Enfo had to do was straighten up, and he was taller than Heaven City. Kill. Kill all these ants from this mainland. The old man looked extremely grim as he issued death orders to the powerful cultivators of the ancient Yu clan, who hurried over in an unending stream. Humph. At that moment, an old man struck one of the Falling Sky Valley's 12 peak masters in the abdomen. The master of Horizon Peak, who was dressed in a white cotton robe, spat out blood. Then, he swiftly struck with his knife. The old man was caught off guard. He was injured by the knife aura and backed away. At that moment, more and more powerful cultivators arrived. The master of Horizon Peak was isolated and helpless, caught in a death trap. Roar! At that moment, a bellow of rage rang through the entire area. White Tiger leaped down from the wall. Its sharp teeth instantly pierced the old man's neck. At that moment, Enchanting moved her arms slightly and caught the injured Master of Horizon Peak. General, when the Master of Horizon Peak saw Enchanting, he gritted his teeth. He was momentarily lost for words. Promise me you won't die. Enchanting glanced at the Master of Horizon Peak and said softly. All of us must survive. Without giving the Master of Horizon Peak an opportunity to reply, Enchanting threw him into the camp in Falling Sky Valley. Together with Little White Tiger, she charged towards the ancient Yu clan. Kill. Don't leave a single one alive. The Master of Horizon Peak clenched his fists as he looked at Enchanting's disappearing figure and roared with rage. For 4 weeks, the clash of blades rang continually and the sound of agonized moans could be heard everywhere. It was as if Heaven City was transformed into hell. After a few hours, in the middle of the battle, Yu Tianhe, who had lost an arm, came over to the old man. With a frown, he said, "The battle is lost. We're outnumbered. The number of powerful cultivators they have is terrifying. We already sustained heavy losses when we first occupied Heaven City. If we continue this battle, the entire army will be lost." As the overall commander, the old man was fully aware of all this without Yu Tianhe reminding him. However, he could not bear to retreat now. The ancient Yu clan had desolated the entire southern battlefield wherever it went so that nothing was left alive. They had easily captured the various major cities and would have shortly exterminated all the powerful cultivators in the southern battlefield of this mainland. Instead, he had successively lost 2 cities. The first was Dragon Elephant City, which was lost in a surprise attack. The second was Heaven City, which was lost when it was forcibly invaded. If they just left like that, how could he face the Lord General? As long as the city stands, we will stay. If we lose the city, we will all die. The old man clenched his fists and said through gritted teeth. As a commander, it was a strange concept to have over the loss of just 1 city. How many mainlands had he conquered for the ancient Yu clan in his life? When had he ever suffered such humiliation? Today, even if he died, he would never flee. Very well. Yu Tianhe glanced at the old man and did not speak further. All he could do was to obey the orders he received. Day turned to night. After a long time, the ground was covered with blood. Yu Tianhe and the old man were surrounded by Daoist Zijin and perfected Xianqin. Within Heaven City, only Yu Tianhe and the old man were left for the ancient Yu clan. The rest had all died in battle. You've lost. Enchanting said blandly as she looked at Yu Tianhe and the old man. Lost? When he heard Enchanting's words, the old man laughed coldly. Indeed, we've lost, but we have only lost a city. We have won the entire southern region, and the entire mainland. Are you still disputing with us now that matters have reached this state? Daoist Zijin laughed coldly. If you surrender, we will spare you. Otherwise, you will die. Surrender, the old man laughed wildly. I am an upright man. If I win, I win. If I lose, I lose. But I have never known what it means to surrender. There is no need for you to humiliate me today. I will account for myself. As he finished speaking, the old man flourished his right arm. As everyone watched, he used his palm to smash his own glabella. Boom! The next second, the old man's body collapsed to the ground. He had killed himself. Clank! The next moment, Yu Tianhe drew his long sword. With the speed of lightning, he swept his sword across his own throat. Yu Tianhe and the overall commander of this troop from the ancient Yu clan had committed suicide. This surprised everyone. Bury them. Elder Bai Kuei spoke slowly as he stared at the bodies of the two men who had killed themselves. He felt neither pity nor any kind of emotion. This was a battlefield, a fundamentally cruel place. However, to Elder Bai Kuei, these two men were simply opponents worthy of his respect. The feelings of a commander and leader whose city had been invaded truly could not be expressed to others. Suicide was just death. However, their hearts were probably filled with regret. To Elder Bai Kuei, these two men were truly great generals. A pity that they were on opposing sides. Bury them both. Daoist Zijin walked forward, shaking his head, and issued orders to the Yi family disciples. At that moment, Yi Qingtang was standing on the top of the city wall, looking over the hell-like battlefield. At that moment, her feelings were mixed, and she did not feel any pleasure or joy at having conquered a formidable enemy. The blood on the long sword that she held in her hand had congealed into beads and slowly dripped down. The little white tiger squatted near Yi Qingtang. Its body of snow-white fur was stained red. Ah, after a long time, the little white tiger sighed softly. I've seen all kinds of species at war. Only the wars between humans involve many innocent people. On a battlefield, no one is innocent. Yi Qingtang paused for a moment before speaking softly. Then, she turned and left. That night, they conquered Heaven City and completely destroyed the troop from the ancient Yu clan, without leaving a single soul. In this battle, both sides had given no quarter. In the end, the overall commander and his general had ended it by killing themselves. Blood stained the entire Heaven City red. There was no terror or eeriness, just a slight sense of dreariness. This battle was later recorded in the annals of this mainland. After conquering Heaven City, the headquarters of the southern battlefield finally fulfilled its wishes when the supply teams banded together and brought rations into the city. For a few days, besides cleaning up the battlefield, Yi Qingtang's also swiftly gained greater insight into the martial realms. By the end of the third day, she had progressed from the mid-stage of Yin-Yang perfected Lord 8 Heaven to its peak. But no matter how hard Yi Qingtang tried, she was still unable to reach the threshold of Yang Lord 9th Heaven. Yi Qingtang had no idea where to find the doorway in her dantian that led to Yang Lord 9th Heaven. After half a month, bad news came from the headquarters of the southern battlefield. The ancient Yu clan's army had breached the two major cities of Peerless School and Phantom Valley. The Peerless School sect master and the Phantom Valley master had both died in battle. Further, the remaining young lords and superior troops in Peerless School and Phantom Valley had hurried to Heaven City at the first opportunity and joined in the major defense line in Heaven City. After the two major cities held by the Peerless School and Phantom Valley were breached, the enormous disadvantage that the southern battlefield was in became apparent. Within half a month, the tribes garrisoned by the ancient clan and the major defensive cities were all conquered by the ancient Yu clan's main troops stationed in the southern battlefield. The entire Nine Knights dynasty was completely occupied by the ancient Yu clan. Yi Qingtang felt that the situation was becoming increasingly perilous. She had planned to join all their military strength with that of the master of the ancient clan. However, she received bad news at the last minute. The southern headquarters had been breached by the Yu troops, and the headquarters had been shattered. Almost all the powerful cultivators from the ancient clan were killed in battle. The master of the ancient clan had also been killed after he had severely injured another top general named Yu Tong. Only one powerful cultivator from the ancient clan had escaped. He had arrived in Heaven City with severe injuries. He was at death's door by the time the patrols on the city wall discovered him. Valley Master Xianchen immediately ordered the city doors to be opened, and the powerful cultivator from the ancient clan brought into the main hall. At that moment, in the main hall of Heaven City, Yi Qingtang was looking at Daoist Zijin with a frown. "How are his injuries?" she asked. Daoist Zijin was silent for a long time. He finally shook his head and said, "He can't be saved." Daoist Zijin was a skilled healer, and his prognosis was accurate. After approximately an hour, the dying powerful cultivator from the ancient clan lived for a short time. His pale lips moved slightly. Who is? General Yi. With that, Yi Qingtang advanced and carefully supported the powerful cultivator from the ancient clan. I am Yi Qingtang. Chapter 1193, Occupied, 1, General. Yi, the powerful cultivator from the ancient clan, suddenly summoned strength from somewhere and gripped Yi Qingtang's right hand tightly. He began weeping before Yi Qingtang could move. The clan master. With the clan master's power, he could have fled, but... I know. I had great respect for the master of the ancient clan. Yi Qingtang hurried to console him when she saw how agitated the powerful cultivator from the ancient clan had become. General Yi. The Yus want the spiritual abode's incarnation in this mainland. Then they will use the power of the spiritual abode's incarnation to destroy every living thing. In this mainland, they will transform all its life forms into part of the spiritual abode. General Yi, find the incarnation of the spiritual abode and protect it. Do not allow this mainland to be destroyed, please. I beg you. The powerful cultivator's grip on Yi Qingtang's hand tightened. I will, Yi Qingtang said. The powerful cultivator from the ancient clan finally closed his eyes reluctantly. Yi Qingtang took a deep breath. She suddenly stood up. Her eyes glittered with a bone-chilling light as she shouted. The entire city is to be on full alert. Yes. With that, one of the Yi family's branch masters turned and left, his face stern. Yi Qingtang knew in her heart that this powerful cultivator from the ancient clan had only forced himself to survive to pass the news to her in Heaven City, the last faint hope of the entire southern battlefield. The incarnation of the spiritual abode was certainly Little Yu Yun. The ancient Yu clan wanted to use Little Yu Yun's powers to transform all living things in this mainland into spirit energy, allowing the spiritual abode to reach the peak of its mystical powers. Yi Qingtang also knew what Heaven City would be facing. The main force on the southern battlefield and a powerful cultivator with the rank of general. It was a real nightmare. After a moment, Yi Qingtang returned to her room. The little Luo Shui was excited to see Yi Qingtang. He opened his eyes wide and hugged Yi Qingtang's calves. Little Yu Yun also came over and smiled shyly. For some reason, whenever Yi Qingtang saw Little Yu Yun and Little Luo Shui, warmth would fill her heart. If she too collapsed, who would protect these two children? Yi Qingtang picked up Little Luo Shui and Little Yu Yun and walked out of the house. After a short while, they neared the city wall on the Blood Moon Elder. Hong Hiching, Yi Qingtang looked at Blood Moon Elder. The Blood Moon Elder was startled by her words. He seldom heard Yi Qingtang call him directly by name. He had almost forgotten his real name. Holy Lady, what is the matter? Hong Hiching. Yi Qingtang said again. The Blood Moon Elder sank into silence. As far as he could recall, this was the first time that Yi Qingtang had called him so sternly by his real name. Hong Hiching is listening. General Yi, I am ready to receive my orders. The Blood Moon Elder shouted. While this war is ongoing, you are to protect these children. Yi Qingtang pointed at Little Yu Yun and Little Luo Shui. What, this? The Blood Moon Elder was shocked by Yi Qingtang's words. Was the Holy Lady ordering him to guard Little Yu Yun and Little Luo Shui? Holy Lady, considering my capabilities, it's better for me to enter the battlefield. It would be a waste of my talents to guard these two children, the Blood Moon Elder muttered. Do you enjoy fighting that much? Yi Qingtang asked softly. Chapter 1194, Occupied, 2, Holy Lady, with my capabilities, I can kill more enemies on the battlefield, reducing our enemy numbers, said the Blood Moon Elder. In that case, consider these two children as your battlefield. Yi Qingtang's words seemed to have a deeper meaning. Before the Blood Moon Elder could continue, Yi Qingtang said seriously, "Tell me if you can do this." "I, Hong Hiching, can do this." In the end, the Blood Moon Elder gritted his teeth and nodded. His voice was like the crash of thunder. He did not know what the Holy Lady was thinking, but if Yi Qingtang spoke so sternly and seriously, then he trusted her arrangements. Very well. Little Yu Yun is the future of this mainland, right now. I hand the future over to you. Yi Qingtang laughed softly. The Blood Moon Elder's heart quavered, and he immediately said, "I will not disappoint the Holy Lady." "Thank you." Yi Qingtang took a step back and bowed to the Blood Moon Elder. "Holy Lady," the Blood Moon Elder looked at Yi Qingtang. He could not describe his feelings, but it was as if she was handing over a legacy. "I need to deal with the approaching main force of ancient Yu clan stationed in the south. I am unable to protect them. You are the most powerful among us all. I will only be at ease if these two children are in your care." Yi Qingtang smiled slightly at the Blood Moon Elder. With that, Yi Qingtang turned and left. As he looked at Yi Qingtang's disappearing figure, little Luo Shue's eyes became misty. He subconsciously reached out for Yi Qingtang but finally withdrew his hand. Although little Luo Shui was still young, he had a vague idea of what was going on. At that moment, he needed to hear from his own mother. "Be good. Both of you are to come with grandfather. Grandfather will certainly take good care of you, all right?" The Blood Moon Elder bent down and put little Luo Shui and little Yu Yun on his palm. Little Yu Yun nodded. Little Luo Shui blinked his wet eyes and looked at the Blood Moon Elder. "Your mother has more important things to attend to. When you've grown up, you must follow your mother's example." The Blood Moon Elder looked at the two small children. Before long, scouts announced that the ancient Yu clan's main force in the south was no more than 100 miles from Heaven City. Yi Qingtang was silent for a long time after receiving this news. Then, her eyes swept across everyone present. 12 Peak Masters of Falling Sky Valley, receive your orders." Yi Qingtang said. "We hear and obey." The 12 Peak Masters said seriously. "Yi family disciples, receive your orders," said Yi Qingtang. "We hear and obey." Hundreds of Yi family disciples replied in unison. "Yi family branch masters, receive your orders," said Yi Qingtang. "We hear and obey." The many Yi family young lords advanced. "Elders of the Yi family, receive your orders," said Yi Qingtang. "We hear and obey." Daoist Zijin, Elder Bai Kuei, and the other young lords looked determined. "Si family young lords, receive your orders," said Yi Qingtang. "We hear and obey." The many young lords from the Si family cupped their fists. Yi Qingtang said slowly, "The main force of the ancient Yu clan is no more than 100 miles away. In this battle, all of us could die." Everyone present already knew that. If anyone wants to back out now, they can immediately leave Heaven City without being pursued. Yi Qingtang said. After a moment, no one responded. "Very well, thank you everyone." Yi Qingtang slowly bowed to everyone present. "General, it is we who should thank you." Daoist Zijin looked at Yi Qingtang with a complicated expression. "General, with your powers, you could easily leave this mainland, but you have chosen to remain with us. This mainland had raised them. No one was willing to leave. They were all willing to live or die together with this mainland that had raised them. But Enchanting was still so young. She could leave this mainland and wait for her powers to exceed that of the ancient Yu clan before taking revenge on them. But Enchanting had also chosen to stay and to live and die with them. How noble of her. Reporting. The main force of the ancient Yu clan is less than 20 miles away. Another scout swiftly reported. Enchanting remained silent for a moment. Then, with her eyes glittering with cold light, she said, "Meet them in battle. Kill! Kill! Kill!" Everyone shouted in unison. The first battle to determine the survival of this mainland was about to commence. This battle was later recorded in history books. Thousands of years later, whenever people discussed it, they would be filled with the deepest respect for these heroes who were not afraid to die in battle, for the immortal souls, and for this solemn and stirring moment that moved them to both song and tears. At that moment, everyone had arrived at the top of the wall. Thousands of powerful cultivators had gathered from all over the south to hold the last line of defense. They raised their longbows, drew their arrows, and aimed beyond the city. Boom, boom, boom. The entire earth quickly started to shake as if a natural disaster was imminent. Dust floated in the void, sketching the outline of the battlefield. The air was filled with the distinctive scent of blood. No one knew what to expect. Death did not seem frightening at this point. A moment later, the main force of the Yu clan in the south descended on the lone city. A green-robed man stood on top of a huge demonic beast. He swept a glance at the crowd on the city walls of Heaven City. Behind him stood thousands of powerful cultivators from the ancient Yu clan and a few of the super sect forces which had surrendered earlier on the southern battlefield. The southern headquarters has been breached. Your general is dead. If you surrender, your lives will be spared. After a moment, the green-robed man, Yu Tong, said slowly. Kill! 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 However, a roar of defiance arose in response to General Yu Tong. In Heaven City, battle flags flew, and battle drums rang out. Release! Elder Bai Kuei waved his right arm and shouted sharply. At Elder Bai Kuei's command, countless arrows flew with incredible speed. They were so numerous that they fell like rain on the main force of the ancient Yu clan below them. These bows and arrows were specially constructed, and most of them were almost black-grade quality. The arrows were coated with either the destructive power of elemental fire or the power of frost. They were terrifying. Boom! The moment the arrows fell, towering flames shot skywards and exploded in the void. Many of the powerful cultivators from the ancient clan were caught off guard and retreated with injuries. Many of the super sect powers in the south, who had yielded to the ancient Yu clan, were immediately killed by the explosion or were pierced through. Enchanting had prepared for this battle for a long time. These bows and arrows were mostly constructed of ancient meteoric iron, and some of them even surpassed the power of ordinary black-grade divine weapons. Although the ancient Yu clan was powerful, this mainland greatly restricted their powers. It was impossible for them to avoid being injured by the arrows. Even those southern super sect powers who had surrendered to the ancient Yu clan were hard-pressed to withstand them. Release! 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 Elder Bai Kuei shouted repeatedly. The specially constructed arrows fell in waves on the ancient Yu clan. Enchanting had used up all the ancient meteoric iron but had only made enough arrows for 3 waves of attacks. However, these 3 waves of attacks had already caused the main force of the ancient Yu clan to sustain heavy losses. The southern super sect forces were pushed to the front line by the ancient Yu clan and were completely wiped out. Even 1/3 of the ancient Yu clan's main forces were killed or injured. Humph! After a moment, Yu Tong grunted coldly and used the power of a heavenly venerate to protect the main forces. If Yu Tong had not shielded them with the power of a heavenly venerate, the casualties in the main forces would have been even greater. When she saw that they had used up all the arrows, Enchanting waved her arms slightly. Roar! Little White Tiger instantly grew bigger and led Enchanting to charge out of Heaven City. The advantages of Heaven City were almost non-existent when faced with the southern battlefield's main forces. Yutong could easily use his heavenly venerate power to destroy Heaven City or lay siege to the city, thus turning the advantage to himself. Kill! Elder Bai Kuei, Valley Master Xianchen, and dozens of young lords led the charge. They leaped off the city wall to land outside the city and then charged towards the main force of the ancient Yu clan. Kill! 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 Hundreds of Yi family disciples followed, their faces grim and determined. At that moment, a roar rang out in front of them. The vanguard of the ancient Yu clan held black-grade weapons and tried to surround Enchanting. Roar! The white tiger, which had enlarged itself, bellowed in rage. The demonic aura of a fiend celestial was transformed into gusts of wind that forced the powerful cultivators of the ancient Yu clan to retreat. Swoosh! Enchanting drew her black-grade divine weapon and brandished it as she advanced. The heavenly demon bloodline and the divine phoenix bloodline were forced to their peaks. She was completely covered by a black aura and a golden glow. It was as if a god of the ninth heaven had arrived on earth. Every time Enchanting waved the black-grade divine weapon in her hand, it took a life. Fortunately, most of the powerful cultivators in the main forces were still poisoned, and most of their martial capabilities were only at the sixth heaven of Yin-Yang perfected lord, as they had not yet recovered to the stage of a Yang lord. Otherwise, there was no need to even fight this battle. In an instant, the thousands of men from this mainland and the ancient Yu clan violently collided like meteorites that had left their obits, howling wildly like the wind. However, after a few skirmishes, the Yi family disciples started to fall back. Although most of the Yi family disciples were on par with the powerful cultivators of the ancient Yu clan who had not yet recovered their full abilities, their martial arts cultivation level was still far inferior to that of the powerful cultivators of the ancient Yu clan. When they saw that, the 12 peaks divided into two forces. One force continued to hold up the main forces while the other joined the Yi family disciples' formation to relieve the pressure on the Yi family disciples. They would really rather die than surrender. Before long, the green-robed man, Yutong, transformed into a ray of light and rushed at Enchanting. Enchanting immediately extricated herself from the battlefield. She leaped from the little white tiger's back, and her slender figure was soon embroiled in a fight with Yutong. Roar! The demonic beast that Yutong was riding shot a beam of destructive light from its mouth. But before it reached Enchanting, the white tiger sent it flying with a headbutt. The little white tiger and Yutong's demonic beast were soon fighting. Fiend Celestial Beast. Yutong was astonished to see that the Fiend Celestial Beast was equally matched with the Black Flame God, one of the most powerful demonic beasts of the ancient Yu clan. Never had he expected that this mainland actually had a Fiend Celestial Beast. That is. Black Flame God, Elder Bai Kuei was shocked as he inspected the ancient Yu clan demon. Black Flame God was an ancient demonic beast that was extremely scarce. Many masters at taming beasts could not find a single one even after devoting their entire lives to the purpose. This type of demon was inherently violent, and when it reached its peak, it could turn into a flaming beast that could set everything in this world on fire. Roar! With a furious shout from the little white tiger, its claws lunged forward and instantly made a few bloody scratches on Black Flame God's face. Roar! Roar! Black Flame God roared loudly in pain. Subsequently, it held its head up high and sent the white tiger flying. Many ancient Yu clan figures and Yi family disciples scattered away in all directions swiftly in fear that they would lose their lives unexpectedly in the fierce battle between the two creatures. Before everyone could react, a small ball of light resembling a little sun was condensed in Black Flame God's mouth. Retreat! Yutong ordered immediately upon noticing the situation. Without his reminder, all the ancient Yu clan masses had already withdrawn themselves from the scene and retreated backward successively. When enraged, the Black Flame God's fire energy would escalate tremendously, and its attacking manner was extremely broad, so much that it did not distinguish between enemy and ally. In just a moment, the battlefield was already broken up. Everyone rushed into a mountain valley not far away, and every inch of the place became a battlefield smoked with blood. Soon after, an explosion reverberated from the nearby Heaven City. The White Tiger was heavily injured while Black Flame God seemed to be even more severely wounded. Both demonic creatures continued to tremble violently. The war between the mainland and the ancient Yu clan's main south army was finally full-blown in the mountain valley. Night turned into day, and day turned into night once again. No one knew how much time had passed. The ground in the mountain valley was blanketed by blood, and broken limbs were strewn everywhere. Ha ha ha. A shrill laugh sounded from a certain corner of the mountain valley. A falling Sky Valley Peak Master's abdomen was pierced by a long sword. You are very tenacious, but all of you must die, an ancient Yu clan elderly said. Swoosh. However, the Peak Master did not utter a word and grabbed the ancient Yu clan elderly who stabbed him. What are you doing? The elderly asked indifferently. Ha ha ha. Let's go together. Grotto Heaven Peak Master roared with laughter. This is the self-destruction of a young lord. What? The elderly's expression changed drastically, and shock filled his face. Once a cultivator reached the young lord realm, the body could condense a spirit such that it had a chance of being reincarnated to become human once again even if the cultivator died. However, if one self-destructed, even the spirit would vanish into thin air. Are you insane? The ancient Yu clan elderly hollered furiously. As he saw that the Grotto Heaven Peak Master refused to let go of him, the elderly's eyes flickered, and he slammed the Grotto Heaven Peak Master's glabella with full force. Ow! Blood spewed out of the Grotto Heaven Peak Master's mouth, and he trembled non-stop, but his grip on the elderly never released. Everyone, quickly run, run. Chapter 1198 Occupied 6 The Grotto Heaven Peak Master's eyes landed on the surrounding Yi family disciples, who were fighting hard as he shouted loudly. As he spoke, an indescribable breath of destruction emerged around the Grotto Heaven Peak Master's body. It condensed all the energy sources of the young lord and self-detonated, destroying this energy. Grotto Heaven Peak Master. Many Yi family disciples were teary as they looked at the Grotto Heaven Peak Master not far away. However, the self-destruction force of a young lord was massive and had a wide range. If they did not flee, they would also be roped in. Ultimately, many Yi family disciples stopped the fight and fled away at the fastest speed they had ever used in their lives. Ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Seeing that all the Yi family disciples had left, the Grotto Heaven Peak Master was finally relieved. General. Valley Master. Old Valley Master. We are not a disgrace to Falling Sky Valley, or this mainland, right? The Grotto Heaven Peak Master clung onto the alarmed ancient Yu clan young lord elderly tightly and turned into a blinding light. Boom, boom, boom. A deafening sound reverberated throughout the place. A corner of the valley crumbled instantly and was destroyed by the self-destructive force of a young lord. The ground shattered, and the forest collapsed. It was like a natural disaster. After this loud crash, the ancient Yu clan masses nearby, who did not even know what happened, fell victim to the self-destructive force of a young lord and were buried 6 feet under forever. This valley was a distance away from Heaven City, and cultivators could fly in the air. At this moment, Enchanting witnessed the scene from the sky and clenched her fists tightly. She bowed deeply at Grotto Heaven Peak Master in the air without uttering a word. Subsequently, an icy glint flashed across her eyes as she charged toward the ancient Clan masses. Swoosh! A sword gleam slashed across and penetrated through the bodies of several ancient Clan powerful figures. Enchanting landed on the ground swiftly. Eldest young lady, suddenly, a weak voice came from nearby. Enchanting looked behind instinctively, and her eyes dilated slightly. Yiling, what entered Enchanting's eyes was a shocking sight, and she rushed to the teen's side. Yiling was no stranger to Enchanting. He was the son of a formidable Heaven's Dynasty prince. Elder Bai Kuei doted on him dearly and brought him from formidable Heaven's Dynasty to the Yi family and changed his last name to Yi. However, the once vigorous and energetic teen was sliced apart at his waist, and his remaining upper body only had an arm left. Eldest young lady, Yiling's eyes were full of despair, and it reflected Enchanting's figure. He trembled slightly. I am not scared. Enchanting walked forward slowly, kneeled down, and placed Yiling's head on herself. Eldest young lady. Am I about to die? Yiling's face was ghastly pale. It was as though Enchanting's throat was choked with charcoal, which caused a piercing burn. Eldest young lady. I am in pain. Yiling wanted to move his body but did not have the strength to. Enchanting's clothes were already stained red by the blood on Yiling's body. She looked at Yiling's remaining upper body, and the initially youthful face was gradually covered by a pale sheet of ash. Enchanting took a deep breath and suppressed all the sorrow that filled her heart. She said softly, I am sorry. A three-word whisper seemed to deplete all her energy. Chapter 1199 Blood Battle 1 Eldest young lady. Thank you for protecting this mainland. The person I admire the most is you, eldest young lady. Eldest young lady. I'll tell you a secret. A lot of us, Yi family disciples, like you, and said, we want to marry you in the future, Yiling said weakly. It seemed as though he wanted to smile, but he did not even have the energy to squeeze out a smile. Eldest young lady. I lied to you. I am very scared. I don't wish to die. Yiling was suddenly extremely worked up, and he spat out large mouthfuls of blood as he spoke. Save me. Otherwise, my grandfather Bai Kuei will be sad. His determined eyes were filled with mist. Enchanting hugged Yiling's upper body tightly until he could no longer speak, and his teary eyes closed forever. Swoosh! Enchanting stood up and turned into a blur, slashing at the ancient Clan masses not far away. Little Lang, in no time, Elder Bai Kuei slashed his way to the spot and was dumbstruck when he saw Yiling's half-body. I want you all to be crushed to pieces. Elder Bai Kuei roared to the sky and charged towards the ancient Clan camp ahead along with Enchanting. Puff! Elder Bai Kuei immediately slashed an unprepared Young Lord at his waist with one strike. Seeing that a young lord was killed, the remaining young lords were shocked, and anger riled up within them subsequently as they surrounded Elder Bai Kuei. I want you all to be buried with my descendant. Elder Bai Kuei did not have the slightest intention to back away in the face of several ancient Clan young lords. Elder Bai Kuei, retreat quickly. Enchanting, who was fighting with other young lords currently and could not get away, shouted at Elder Bai Kuei loudly. Puff! However, with numerous young lords opposing him, Elder Bai Kuei was defeated in an instant. Whiz! With a bow in hand, a young lord released 10 arrows at top speed, which simultaneously shot towards Elder by Kuei, who was already badly battered. Puff! Sounds of a sharp weapon piercing into flesh rang successively. Blood seeped out of the corner of Elder by Kuei's lips, but he still stood tall and straight. The 10 arrows had penetrated through his body. It's a pity that I cannot continue to fight this war with you. Eldest young lady. Thank you for your care. In this period of time, resolution filled Elder by Kuei's eyes as a force of destruction emerged from his body. He wants to self-destruct. The young lords were shocked after sensing the force of destruction on Elder by Kuei's body. Quickly run! One of the young lords shouted. The self-destruction of a young lord could pose as an extremely huge threat to an arcane supremacy, much less to a young lord. Sealed sky. Technique. Seeing that the young lords wanted to escape, Elder by Kuei formed a print with his palms, and in an instant, a golden screen sealed himself and those young lords in it. You have a death wish. One of the young lords was enraged and charged towards Elder by Kuei with a sword in his hand. Puff! Elder by Kuei's skull was detached from his body instantly, but just as he was beheaded, the force of destruction reached its peak. Boom, boom, boom. A shattering explosion sounded from within the golden screen. Chapter 1200 Blood Battle 2 Several peak young lords from the ancient Yu clan were turned into ash along with Elder by Kuei. Enchanting was left in a trance at this moment. The scene where Elder by Kuei first came to Yi family appeared in her mind. Making use of Enchanting's days, a few young lords exchanged a look and immediately charged towards Enchanting. Nonetheless, in just a moment, Enchanting turned into a black flame and devoured those young lords instead. In the dark night, there was the glow of fire in the valley. The Yi family masses screamed, roared, gritted their teeth, and were enraged. In this hell-like battlefield, their life or death no longer seemed to matter. Many of those Yi family siblings, whom they spent much time with and went through thick and thin together, had lost their lives in their last resistance. Every drop of blood drove the Yi family masses even more insane. Anger and hatred blinded their rationality, the weapons in their hands never rested as they drank more blood greedily. In Heaven City. The Blood Moon Elder's eyes were devoid of emotions when he saw the uninvited guest before him. The person was a middle-aged man. His long, jet-black hair swayed in the wind, and he had an antique long saber hung on his waist. The middle-aged man looked at Blood Moon Elder with a seeming smile. Elder Enfo, good job. Hand the kid with the reincarnation of the spiritual abode to me. Hand her to you. The Blood Moon Elder snickered suddenly. Are you dreaming? The devilish smile on that man's face did not fade even upon hearing that. Oh. In that case, have you really sided with this mainland already? Without waiting for Blood Moon Elder to speak, the middle-aged man shook his head and said, Elder Enfo, as an alien race raised by ancient Yu clan, your mission is to stay loyal to ancient Yu clan until you die. However, you sided with the enemy and are fighting on the same front as the ants of this lowly mainland. How disappointing. The ancient Yu clan is so disappointed, ha ha ha, I think that you're tired of living. I was still worried about not being able to enter the battlefield, but you came knocking on my door on your own accord. Afterward, a glint flashed across the Blood Moon Elder's eyes. He raised his right shoulder, and his mountain-like fist swung towards the middle-aged man violently. The power of this punch raked up wild gusts of wind instantly, and even a mountain would completely crumble under this force. The middle-aged man held the long saber on his waist gently. Subsequently, there was a sound of a sword being unsheathed, and a gleam flashed by. In the next second, under the Blood Moon Elder's stunned gaze, blood was spouting out of his fist like a fountain. The Blood Moon Elder retreated backward as his right shoulder trembled violently. Ha! The middle-aged man looked at Blood Moon Elder and chuckled. Elder Enfo, the 100 elders in the ancient Yu clan are ranked according to their skills. You are only ranked 60 while I am ranked 20. From where did you find the courage to fight me? Before the Blood Moon Elder spoke, the middle-aged man continued speaking. Come, hand those 2 kids to me. I can consider sparing your life. After all, our comradeship has not disappeared completely yet. Ha ha ha, how delusional of you. The Blood Moon Elder chortled loudly. Suddenly, he grabbed little Yu Yun and little Luo Shui and fled the city. Chapter 1201 Blood Battle 3 In just the blink of an eye, the Blood Moon Elder had already fled out of the city and was nowhere to be seen. That middle-aged man was too powerful, and the Blood Moon Elder could not rival him given his skills. Moreover, the Blood Moon Elder could not escape in the direction of the battlefield or he would lead the middle-aged man towards the battlefield. Swoosh! Outside a forest, the middle-aged man appeared once again before the Blood Moon Elder. Elder Enfo, you cannot escape. I'll give you one last chance. Hand the kids to me or bear the consequences, chuckled the middle-aged man. The Blood Moon Elder gently placed little Luo Shui and little Yu Yun on the ground immediately and looked at them seriously. Listen to grandfather. Leave this place immediately, understood? Grandfather, little Luo Shui looked at Blood Moon Elder with worry. Ha ha ha, don't worry, little Luo Shui. Look how huge my body is. I am unrivaled. No one can defeat me. Didn't you all say that you all want to be as powerful as me in the future? The Blood Moon Elder said with a smile. Emishim. Little Luo Shui and little Yu Yun nodded repeatedly. That's right. You 2 will run away first. When I start attacking, there will be too much of a stir, and I'm afraid you 2 will be hurt by accident. I will find you all later, all right? The Blood Moon Elder said. Grandfather, don't lie, little Luo Shui was still rather worried. When have I ever lied to you all? Are you all not going to listen to me and are going to anger me? The Blood Moon Elder said in a furious tone. Ultimately, little Luo Shui held little Yu Yun's hands and ran ahead quickly after being driven away by the Blood Moon Elder. The 2 little kids must be safe, the Blood Moon Elder muttered softly as he watched little Luo Shui and little Yu Yun leave. Humph! The middle-aged man scoffed coldly and immediately flew to the sky, wanting to chase after little Yu Yun and little Luo Shui. His objective this time was to obtain the reincarnation of the spiritual abode, and anything else was not important. Where do you think you are going? The Blood Moon Elder hollered furiously, and he struck the man with his left palm. However, the middle-aged man was extremely fast. He retreated backward immediately and avoided the Blood Moon Elder's attack. The middle-aged man had a clear idea of the Blood Moon Elder's specialty. Anyone apart from the commander who was caught by him would die without a doubt. Of course, the middle-aged man did not think that Blood Moon Elder could catch him either. Move away. The middle-aged man looked at the Blood Moon Elder and said coldly. Ha ha ha, you are dreaming. The Blood Moon Elder snickered. The only mission that Holy Lady gave him was to protect the 2 kids. No matter what, he would not let the ancient Yu clan lay their hands on little Yu Yun. It seems that you're just courting death. The middle-aged man slowly unsheathed the long saber on his waist. Let's see who will die. You or me. The Blood Moon Elder shouted angrily and threw a punch at the middle-aged man. Since you are seeking death, as someone from the same clan, I can only fulfill your wishes. The middle-aged man had an indifferent expression as he said, saber intent. Martial willpower filled the air instantly. 2 bolts of light shot out from the middle-aged man's eyes, and he slashed away with the long saber in his hands. Puff! The fist that the Blood Moon Elder threw out was chopped immediately. A small mountain-like fist flung afar. Chapter 1202 Blood Battle for the Blood Moon Elder was breaking out in a cold sweat profusely, but the excruciating pain kept him more clear-headed. No matter what. I will not let you go there. Kill that thought of yours. The Blood Moon Elder grunted loudly. Nonetheless, the middle-aged man did not speak, and he slashed with his saber. The Blood Moon Elder's enormous body did not retreat, and he advanced instead, welcoming all the aura from the saber straight on. In the next second, the Blood Moon Elder's chest area was crushed by the saber aura, and fresh blood stained his body red. Ha! Ha 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 ha! The Blood Moon Elder looked at his severely wounded body and laughed wildly. Satisfying, satisfying. Are you crazy? The middle-aged man looked at the Blood Moon Elder without emotion. Ha ha ha, how can one not act a little wild in their lifetime? Then, the Blood Moon Elder continued to close in on the middle-aged man with an insane expression. You have a death wish. The middle-aged man snickered coldly, and the long saber condensed a frightening destructive force. Subsequently, the saber moved in an arc and advanced irresistibly. The Blood Moon Elder's perfect defense was utterly weak before the middle-aged man and his long saber. Thud! The saber chopped off Blood Moon Elder's entire right leg. Without the support of a leg, the enormous body lost balance and fell to the ground immediately. You bit off more than you can chew. The middle-aged man snickered coldly upon seeing the sight. Then, the middle-aged man did not spare the Blood Moon Elder another look, walked past him directly, and chased in the direction of little Yu Yun and little Luo Shui. However, at this instant, the Blood Moon Elder raised his perfect left arm and slammed the ground heavily. Boom! 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 Under this huge force, the ground ahead shattered completely and formed a huge chasm that could not be leaped over. Don't you think of leaving? Blood Moon Elder laughed. Is that it? The middle-aged man's lips tugged up slightly, and he wanted to fly in the air instead. If he was unable to walk on the ground, traveling by air was the same too. Yet, at this moment, the middle-aged man's expression changed. He was actually unable to fly. Was a mystic technique laid in the sky here? Ha 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 ha, I have set a mystic technique here long ago. You cannot fly nor walk forward, the Blood Moon Elder chortled. You're courting death. Realizing that he could not continue to pursue his target, the middle-aged man was utterly enraged, and his long saber slashed at Blood Moon Elder's neck heavily. Puff! A streak of blood splashed by along with the slit at his throat. In a few breaths, large gushes of blood spewed out from Blood Moon Elder's neck and painted the ground bright red instantly. Seeing that the Blood Moon Elder was completely breathless, the middle-aged man clenched his teeth. You all will not be able to escape. Afterward, the middle-aged man turned around and left. Nonetheless, the Blood Moon Elder's tightly shut eyes opened suddenly, and he raised his left arm at top speed. What? The middle-aged man was stunned. Never had he thought that the Blood Moon Elder, who was slit at the neck, had not died. Got you. Ha. Ha. Ha 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 ha. Blood Moon Elder gripped on the middle-aged man tightly with his left palm as he laughed wildly. It was just that his neck was slit, and every word he spoke accelerated the blood loss at his neck. Chapter 1203 Blood Battle 5 You, the middle-aged man wanted to say something, but the Blood Moon Elder put all his force in his hand. In a second, the middle-aged man's body exploded in the Blood Moon Elder's hand and was crushed into pieces. Boom! Puff, puff, puff. Eventually, the Blood Moon Elder's left arm fell weakly as he panted heavily. Holy Lady. I, Hong He, Qing, succeeded in carrying out your order, and completed my mission. The Blood Moon Elder looked up at the sky and shouted. 2 streaks of tears flowed down Blood Moon Elder's cheeks. Very swiftly, the Blood Moon Elder struggled to stand up, but the current him did not have any energy left, and he was unable to walk after losing a leg. I, Hong Hiching, am not anyone's split self, Blood Moon Elder mumbled. Many scenes played in the Blood Moon Elder's head in a moment. Back when he and Yi Qingtang first met, he had no other choice and was forced to sign a Heavenly Dao contract with her. The days that followed were joyous and carefree. In Xianling's sect, he became an ordinary disciple and was bullied and oppressed by Yi Qingtang every day. Afterward, the two of them were through thick and thin together. The sudden change in Xianling's sect, heading to the Blood Moon sect together, putting up an act. In the hell of Avicenaraka mystic realm, they stuck through the dangers together and never abandoned one another. In the war, they trusted each other fully without any suspicions. Thinking about it carefully, in his entire life, he only had that one friend, that one precious friend. Sorry. My friend, the Blood Moon Elder chuckled softly. At this instant, Yi Qingtang from afar felt her heart tremble slightly after killing several ancient Yu clan figures. Yi Qingtang clearly felt that her contract with the Blood Moon Elder suddenly disappeared at that very moment. An inauspicious feeling filled her rapidly. Immediately, Yi Qingtang turned into a shadow and flew towards the location she last sensed him at. Yi Qingtang found the Blood Moon Elder very quickly. However, upon seeing Blood Moon Elder, Yi Qingtang could not show any expression. Her eyes widened slightly in astonishment. Holy Lady, why are you here? The Blood Moon Elder looked at Yi Qingtang and chuckled softly. Don't talk. Yi Qingtang shuttled to Blood Moon Elder's side with great strides. Ha! Holy Lady. I completed your mission. The kids are safe. The Blood Moon Elder laughed loudly. Don't say anything. Yi Qingtang clenched her fists tightly. Unknowingly, her fingernails dug into her palm, and blood dripped down freely. I can't say anything, in the future anyway. The Blood Moon Elder looked at Yi Qingtang and said, Thank you, my friend. Please, live on. Along with his final cry, his huge body gradually turned into nothing and vanished completely. Heaven City's general is here. Kill her. Some ancient Yu clan people rushed over and shouted loudly as they looked at Yi Qingtang. Get lost. In a flash, monstrous black flames burned around Yi Qingtang, and the flames shot out in all directions. In a few breaths' time, the dozens of people who chased over were completely devoured by the black flames. Without looking back, Yi Qingtang gazed at the spot where the Blood Moon Elder disappeared and picked up a black wine gourd, which was the only thing the Blood Moon Elder left behind. She could still remember that it contained the Blood Moon Elder's favorite alcohol. The Blood Moon Elder had asked Yi Qingtang to drink together a few times. However, Yi Qingtang did not agree as she was not a drinker. She opened the bottle and turned her wrist down to pour the alcohol onto the floor. 1 glass to the immortal soul. 1 glass to the smile that she could still remember. Friend, rest in peace. Yi Qingtang's face was pale, and a mouthful of blood spurted from her mouth. Yi Qingtang then poured the alcohol into her mouth. She could feel that the familiar figure of the Blood Moon Elder also raised his glass and smiled. He clinked his glass with her and drank everything at one shot. 1 glass to the soil. 1 glass to us, Farewell, my friend. The alcohol was poured into her throat. She put the gourd in her pocket and stared at the increasing number of people from the ancient Yu clan. She stood at the spot like an icy mountain. Screams and wails were heard constantly in the valley. Perfected Xianchen had lost one of his arms. His whole body was covered by blood. He pierced the sword into the ground with his left hand. Though he had used all his strength, he was not willing to give up. Everyone had used all their strength in the battle, but they all failed. Though many people of the ancient Yu clan died as well and only a small number of people still remained, their main source of power was still alive. Yutong stared at Enchanting and said, I did not expect that you would be so stubborn. Yutong thought that it would be easy to win the war in the south. However, there was no sign of ending the war even though the headquarters were taken down long ago. The resistance and stubbornness of the team were getting stronger, and that exceeded the ancient Yu clan's imagination. Though the people of the southern mainland lost greatly, the ancient Yu clan's victory was built on many lives sacrificed. Swoosh! Enchanting scanned through the figures of the ancient Yu clan. She turned into a black flame, and the aura of destruction spread throughout the area. Yutong frowned slightly. As he moved his eyes, the indescribable aura of the heavenly venerate surrounded the black flame. After being suppressed by the aura of the heavenly venerate, the black flame faded gradually and turned back into Enchanting's original self. Though Enchanting's martial ability was at the same level as General Yutong on this piece of land, their sources of energy were totally different. One was the power of the primordial qi, but the other was the power of a heavenly venerate. The difference was huge. Hee. General of Heaven City. You and your army are stubborn and more powerful than I had thought. However, you have no chance of survival when your enemy is me. Yutong looked at Enchanting, and his lips curved upward slightly. His eyes turned into a green color and rotated at an even higher speed. A cold glint flashed across her eyes as if she was about to sacrifice everything to fight against the ancient Yu clan. However, the sky and the ground seemed to turn upside down at the instant without any sign. There was no Heaven City, no war zone or the valley. What Enchanting was seeing now was a sea of flame. The burning magma concentrated towards her and was about to engulf her. Illusion. Enchanting frowned heavily. She could see through the illusion based on her experience. The fire was an illusion created by Yutong's power of the heavenly venerate. This is bad. Enchanting condensed the primordial qi in her body to the limit, and countless black flames appeared beside her body. The flames then rushed into the sky, trying to break the world of illusions created by Yutong. Chapter 1205 Blood Battle 7 So there is no way to break the illusion created by the heavenly venerate. An ominous feeling arose in Enchanting's heart. Suddenly, Enchanting's face was pale, and blood seeped out of her mouth. The illusion was connected with the real world. If her body was injured in the outside world, she would suffer from the injury in the illusion as well. The outside world. Enchanting's eyes were closed as she stood motionlessly in her original spot. Her left shoulder was pierced by Yutong's sword. The remaining figures of the ancient Yu clan all started laughing. Even the most powerful people of the inferior mainland would not possess the same level of power as a powerful person from a superior land. There was no hope of survival once she entered Yutong's illusion. She could only be manipulated by him. Hee. You exceeded my expectation on the duration you endured in my illusion. However, you'll still die here. Yutong sneered. Eldest young lady. Some disciples of the Yi family looked over and gritted their teeth. However, they lost all their fighting capabilities and could not even stand up straight due to their severe injuries. Ha, General. I think this lattice appearance is special. It'll be a waste if she just died. How about giving her to us? One of the middle-aged men looked towards Yutong and showed a cunning smile. Yutong's eyes suddenly darkened. Swoosh! Yutong sliced his sword down without making any sound. The middle-aged man's body was cut into half. Blood spurted out immediately, leaving a horrible scene. Everyone looked around and mumbled as their general suddenly killed a young lord. I don't care what you do in your daily life. However, you need to obey my rules when you're following me. This is the battlefield. I hope that all of you give respect to our enemies. We can kill women, but Yutong paused and scanned through everyone coldly. Some of the powerful figures who followed Yutong for a long period of time scoffed. Yutong would never bully or humiliate women. He resented such behaviors. The young lord just now was seeking his own death. However, some of the powerful figures who were dispatched to the southern war scorned. The people of the inferior land could not even be addressed as human. Why couldn't they enjoy themselves after a long fight? Hee. This is a battlefield. Everyone fought hard to be able to stand here. Even those who died in your hands deserve your respect. Yutong sneered. Everyone nodded their heads, and no one dared to say anything else. Yutong was satisfied with everyone's reaction. He turned back slowly and moved the sword in his hand slowly. Suddenly, before he could slash his sword down, a black giant eye appeared beside him. Commander, Yutong's pupil constricted as he saw the black eye. It was a Dharma artifact that was used to communicate with the commander. 3 princesses and 2 noble heirs from the central mainland were kidnapped. They ordered us to give up on conquering this land. An illusory voice came out of the black eye. What? Yutong and the rest of the ancient Yu clan figures were all shocked. Commander, who dares to kidnap the 3 princesses and the 2 noble heirs? Yutong frowned and asked. The 5 of them were all children of the higher-ups of Yu clan's headquarters. The clan master's beloved princess was also one of them. I'm not very sure, but I assume it's the 3rd prince of the eternal dynasty. The illusory voice was heard again. Chapter 1206 Blood Battle 8 Ling Yan. It's him again. Yutong's eyes sparkled. When they entered this mainland, they were poisoned by Ling Yan. Now, when they were about to exterminate everything on this land, Ling Yan kidnapped the 5 noble descendants of the higher-ups of the ancient Yu clan. And even the clan master's beloved princess. But as long as we can find the reincarnation of the spiritual abode and use that power to absorb all the lives on this mainland, we will be able to maximize its power. That can allow the ancient Yu clan to have another great leap. Yu Tun was not reconciled to retreat. How dare you? The clan master has given the order. We need to retreat within 3 days. I'll go and look for the reincarnation of the spiritual abode and bring her out of the mainland. After rescuing our 3 princesses and 2 noble heirs, we can use the spiritual abode's reincarnation power and absorb all the lives on this land. The illusory voice shouted coldly. Yes, Yutong nodded after a while. He could not do anything besides following the order. Don't stay there anymore. Go back to the headquarters now. I'm in the south now, and I'll go look for the reincarnation of the spiritual abode. The black eye disappeared. Ling Yan. You're really seeking your own death, Yutong sneered. Yutong's sight landed on Enchanting. Since he was about to return to the central mainland, he should kill the leader of the Heaven City to mark the end of the Southern War. Swoosh! Yutong raised his sword and slashed towards Enchanting's neck. Every member of the Yi family shouted in rage. However, before the sword landed, a blood-red figure suddenly appeared. A crisp ringing sound was heard. A man stood in front of Enchanting expressionlessly. He used two of his fingers and held Yutong's sword. "Oh, there's another powerful person," Yutong looked at the man in the blood-red robe and scorned. However, before he could finish his words, the man in the blood-red robe punched him. The punch was so fast that it was invisible to the naked eye. There was a huge boom, and Yutong's body was thrown out like a kite with a broken string. Ow! Blood spurted out of Yutong's mouth, and he had a shocked expression. The abilities of the man in the blood-red robe were so terrifying. Yutong returned after a while. He remained floating in the air and sized up the man from mid-air. "Who are you? Come down." The Blood Moon Holy Lord raised his right arm. Before knowing what was going on, Yutong's body was pulled by an invisible hand. He could not maintain his balance anymore and fell hard onto the ground. However, some blood flew out of the Blood Moon Holy Lord's mouth. "This body cannot make it anymore," the Blood Moon Holy Lord contemplated. This body was heavily injured after fighting against the demon god's body. If he could rest for a few months, he could recover. However, if he still tried to forcefully use the power in his body, the body might break into pieces. The Blood Moon Holy Lord did not even bother to look at Yutong. He turned and looked towards Enchanting. There were some feelings that appeared in his cold eyes suddenly. He knew that it would be the best ending if Enchanting died here after the land was conquered. Chapter 1207 Blood Battle 9. However, when the moment arrived, he did not know the reason why he could not control himself and saved her eventually. The illusion world that Enchanting was in collapsed as Yutong was heavily injured. Enchanting opened her eyes slowly, and a familiar but cold face appeared in front of her. "Blood Moon. Brother." Enchanting frowned slightly as she stared at the Blood Moon Holy Lord. Though she was stuck in the illusion world, she could sense what was going on in the outside world. If the Blood Moon Holy Lord did not save her just now, she would be dead under Yutong's sword. Since you want to kill me, why did you save me?" Enchanting looked at the Blood Moon Holy Lord and asked. However, the Blood Moon Holy Lord just stood there without any response. Some traces of complexity appeared in his emotionless eyes. Just as she had said, why did he save her? Even if that would cost him his body. "I will kill you. But you can only die in my hands." After a while, the Blood Moon Holy Lord looked at Enchanting and said, "Are you satisfied with the answer?" He asked. "Why do you want to kill me?" Enchanting could never understand that. Before the Blood Moon Holy Lord could say anything, Yutong shouted, "Kill them." As Yutong finished his words, the remaining figures of the ancient Yu clan dashed towards the Blood Moon Holy Lord. The Blood Moon Holy Lord raised his right arm and waved his right hand downward. Moon Extermination. A blood moon at the Blood Moon Holy Lord's glabella rotated slowly. The next second, under Enchanting's surprised gaze, the few hundred figures of the ancient Yu clan were torn into pieces and disappeared like dust. Puff! After killing hundreds with one hand, the Blood Moon Holy Lord's face was pale, and a mouthful of blood spurted from his mouth. He stumbled and was about to fall. Enchanting immediately went forward and held the Blood Moon Holy Lord. "Brother, how's your injury?" The Blood Moon Holy Lord felt the warmth from Enchanting. He frowned slightly and asked, "Are you caring for me?" "Of course. Though I don't know why you want to kill me. But, you're my brother. We pledged under the sky before," Enchanting said. "Is it?" The Blood Moon Holy Lord took a complex glimpse at Enchanting. "Holy Fiend Extermination Yutong suddenly shouted. His eyes rotated madly. A god-fiend shadow appeared from the eyes. "I don't care who you are. Today, you will die here." This is a forbidden skill that runs with my life. You shall have a taste of that. Yu Tong looked at the Blood Moon Holy Lord in rage. Back off. The Blood Moon Holy Lord pushed gently, but Yi Qingtang moved back around 10 meters from the little push. As Yi Qingtang moved back, a fog made of blood surrounded the Blood Moon Holy Lord and Yu Tong immediately. Around 15 minutes later, the fog faded. Yu Tong had become a pool of blood. The Blood Moon Holy Lord fell onto the ground with his clothes torn. He stared at the stars quietly with his indifferent eyes. Yi Qingtang's expression changed, and she ran over to the Blood Moon Holy Lord, trying to help him up. However, Yi Qingtang's hands went through his body, as if there was nothing there. This, Yi Qingtang looked at the Blood Moon Holy Lord in shock. Chapter 1208 Blood Battle 10 Brother. Are you the Heavenly Emperor? Is this body a duplicate? Yi Qingtang looked at the Blood Moon Holy Lord and said. Previously, she knew from the Blood Moon Elder that the Blood Moon Holy Lord was a duplicate of the Heavenly Emperor. However, Yi Qingtang did not know who the Heavenly Emperor was. The Blood Moon Holy Lord turned his head and looked at Yi Qingtang as he heard her voice. Do you want to know the truth? The Blood Moon Holy Lord asked softly. Yes. Yi Qingtang said. Okay, then stay alive. We'll meet again soon. And I'll tell you everything before I kill you. The Blood Moon Holy Lord raised his right arm, trying to touch Yi Qingtang's face. However, at the last moment, the Blood Moon Holy Lord's body became lustrous and disappeared. Spirit Incarnation, Yi Qingtang showed a complicated expression as the Blood Moon Holy Lord disappeared. Spirit incarnations were very different from duplicates. The Blood Moon Elder was a duplicate that was not under the control of the main body. However, the spirit incarnation was totally controlled by the main body. When the incarnation died, the spirit power would return to the main body. Heavenly Emperor, Yi Qingtang mumbled. He had definitely reached the Emperor level. Why would an Emperor's spirit incarnation pledge with her and want to kill her, but eventually, save her? Qingtang, perfected Xianqin slightly recovered after a while. He stumbled towards Yi Qingtang. The few remaining disciples of the Yi family also followed. Eldest young lady, Wei, Daoist Zijin could not say anything as he looked at the hell in front of him. There were less than 100 people left in the Yi family. Yi Ling and a few other elders did not join the battle as their abilities were not up to the standard. Yi Qingtang clenched her fists and did not say anything as she stared at everyone of the Yi family. There were many tombs that appeared in the valley on the second day. Perfected Xianqin and Daoist Zijin followed Yi Qingtang and bowed towards the tombs. No one would know how many heroes were buried under the tombs here. They used their blood to protect this mainland. They did not give up even in the last moments of their lives. I, Yi Qingtang, swear here. As long as I am still alive, the ancient Yu clan will pay their price one day. With their blood. Yi Qingtang took out a dagger and made a deep cut on her arm under everyone's gaze. Eldest young lady. Daoist Zijin was shocked. As long as the ancient Yu clan is still alive, the scar will remain. Yi Qingtang said coldly. Yi Qingtang kneeled down as she finished her words. She kowtowed constantly towards the tombs until her forehead was injured and blood stained the ground. They'll pay back with their blood. They'll pay back with their blood. Everyone of the Yi family shouted together. Those who were buried under the tombs were all their siblings that they lived with in the past. All of them. The little white tiger stared at Yi Qingtang and sighed but did not say anything. Daoist Zijin walked to Elder Bai Kuei's tomb. Tears ran down the old man's face even though he was more than 100 years old. Old friend. This time, I'll never see you again after you leave me. After half a day, Enchanting ordered everyone from the Yi family to retreat to Falling Sky Valley. The ancient Yu clan had retreated completely because of Ling Yan. They had no choice but to abandon their invasion of this mainland and return to their headquarters. There was only one commander who remained on the southern battlefield to look for little Yu Yun. However, Enchanting also knew that this commander was too powerful. If the group from the Yi family were to remain, they would only sacrifice themselves needlessly. Evening, at sunset. In the glow of the golden rays, Enchanting was holding a gourd of wine and standing in front of a grave marker. Her eyes never left the grave marker in front of her. The words, "The resting place of Hongheqing, a loyal friend," were clearly engraved on the marker. They were just a few simple words, but Enchanting found them particularly jarring. "You're always looking for me to have a drink." Enchanting looked at the grave. "Old man, come out and have a drink with me." There was dead silence all around. The wailing of the wind was her only response. There was no longer anyone to continually bother her. The one who had continually called, Holy Lady, was no longer present. As she looked at the grave marker and the jarring words carved there, Enchanting's lips suddenly arched in a bitter smile. She would never have a response. She suddenly raised the gourd of wine in her hand and poured the sharp liquor down her throat. Scenes from the past surfaced in her mind as the liquor entered her. "Humph, I am the Blood Moon sect elder. Now that I'm here, hadn't you better kneel in submission?" "Holy Lady, this place is dangerous. Holy Lady, how can you order me to possess a woman? I don't want to be a woman, Hongheqing, promise. I will complete my mission." The frank laughter seemed to ring out again and deafen her. But she could only vaguely hear it as it reverberated in her mind. By the time Enchanting left the Blood Moon Elder's grave, a few days had passed. The army of the ancient Yu clan had mostly left. The entire mainland was scarred and battered like a wasteland. At that moment, Enchanting had yet to return to Falling Sky Valley. She was searching everywhere for little Luo Shui and little Yu Yun. 3 days ago, in a ruined city on the southern battlefield, Absolute Monarch of Heaven, Yin Yang Child, and the others suddenly appeared by Enchanting's side. Before the major battle erupted, Enchanting had ordered Absolute Monarch of Heaven, Yin Yang Child, and the rest to investigate the mysterious commander of the ancient Yu clan. Absolute Monarch of Heaven and the others had descended from the void into the ruined city and arrived at Enchanting's side. "Miss Yi," the Absolute Monarch of Heaven said as he looked at Enchanting. "Brother Monarch of Heaven." Enchanting nodded slightly. "Regarding the matter that Miss Yi entrusted to us, we have completed our investigations," Absolute Monarch of Heaven said seriously. "We have looked into the commander's identity, but I'm afraid it's bad news for Miss Yi." "Brother Monarch of Heaven, go ahead and speak frankly," Enchanting said with a frown. "Very well." Absolute Monarch of Heaven nodded. "The commander is the deputy clan master of the ancient Yu clan." Enchanting's face was filled with shock after hearing Absolute Monarch of Heaven's words. She had not imagined that the commander was the deputy clan master of the ancient Yu clan. No wonder even powerful generals like Yu Tong were so awed by this commander. "Miss Yi, the deputy clan master of the ancient Yu clan currently has 2 children with him, a boy and a girl. They are heading for the mountains in Tianyun. He intends to manipulate the girl to absorb the lives of all living things in this mainland. We can no longer remain in this mainland," a black-robed old man said. Enchanting was shocked. The boy and girl were certainly little Yu Yun and little Luo Shui. But Enchanting had not imagined the deputy clan master of the ancient Yu clan had actually managed to locate the 2 children. "Miss Yi, this mainland is too dangerous. We cannot remain here much longer. We intend to leave now. Will you come with us?" The black-robed old man looked at Enchanting and asked tentatively. No need. Enchanting shook her head. I still have some matters to deal with in this mainland. It is best for you to leave. If we are fated to meet again, we will see each other in Central Mainland. When he heard Enchanting's words, a rarely seen expression of helplessness surfaced on Young Child's childish face. He said awkwardly, Elder sister, I hope we will survive to meet again. Of course we will. Enchanting chuckled as she looked at Young Child. Everyone knew what Enchanting intended to do, so they did not insist. After a moment, Absolute Monarch of Heaven and the rest had all flown to the end of the void and vanished. When Absolute Monarch of Heaven, Young Child, and the rest had all gone, Enchanting flew in the direction of Mount Tianyuan. Even if it was the deputy clan master of the ancient Yu clan, she still had to face him. Little Yu Yun must not fall into the hands of the ancient Yu clan. Swoosh! Enchanting's body transformed into a shadow and vanished in the blink of an eye. Half a minute later, at the peak of a mountain range, a white-robed old man was sitting with little Yu Yun and little Luo Shui. At that moment, little Luo Shui was already unconscious, but a faint violet glow had surfaced in little Yu Yun's eyes. She was being controlled by the old man, and her expression was wooden. The old man looked at little Yu Yun and said coldly, Control the spirit energy in this mainland and transform it all into your energy source. Little Yu Yun's expression was wooden like that of a puppet. She nodded stiffly, and her eyes looked towards the void. The next moment, the spirit energy in this mainland rapidly gathered and slowly started to condense. In this mainland, the power of the spiritual abode was akin to that of a creator god. All the living things could be transformed into spirit energy and turned into part of the spiritual abode. Third Prince of the Eternal Dynasty. I have already ordered the army of the ancient Yu clan to retreat. You certainly would not have foreseen that I would remain here and use the power of the spiritual abode to exterminate all the living things here. The white-robed old man laughed coldly as he looked at the spirit energy that was rapidly gathering in the void. At that moment, a figure suddenly descended from the void. The instant Enchanting rushed down, she reached out her hand to try to snatch little Yu Yun away. When the white-robed old man saw Enchanting appear, his lips curved in the trace of a cold smile. He casually gestured with his right hand and transformed into a frightening whirlwind, which instantly forced Enchanting to retreat by several steps. Young one, how dare you behave arrogantly in my presence? The white-robed old man said coldly as he glared at Enchanting. Enchanting steadied herself but showed no sign of retreating. She looked icily at the white-robed old man and spoke coldly. Return the two children to me. Return them to you. When he heard that, the white-robed old man could not help but laugh coldly. Young one, the humans in this mainland were all raised by the power of the spiritual abode. They would not exist if it were not for the spiritual abode. However, the spiritual abode belongs to the Yu clan. We are only taking back what is ours. What is yours? Enchanting's expression was frosty. Nothing belongs to your ancient Yu clan. You are merely looking for excuses to satisfy your own greed. You are merely a lowly ant in this inferior mainland. You are not fit to speak to me. Get lost. Go and wait quietly for your death and enjoy your last moments. The white-robed old man impatiently waved her away. However, Enchanting ignored the white-robed old man and looked at little Yu Yun instead. She said gently, Little Yu Yun, be a good girl and come over to me. Enchanting's voice gradually reached little Yu Yun's ears. Little Yu Yun subconsciously turned to study Enchanting, but she made no other movement. Instead, she continued to stand motionlessly in the same spot. When Enchanting saw little Yu Yun's odd expression, a trace of shock surfaced in her eyes. From little Yu Yun's expression, it was clear that someone was controlling her every move. Clank. She drew her long sword with a crisp ringing sound. Enchanting flicked her wrist and used her long sword to slash at the white-robed old man. When he saw that, the white-robed old man laughed coldly. He sat motionlessly in his spot, letting Enchanting wave her sword at will. The next moment, golden ripples suddenly appeared in front of the white-robed old man. The ripples enclosed the entire area. Boom! Enchanting's sword struck the golden ripples. The ripples did not break. Instead, a huge force forced Enchanting to retreat. Enchanting steadied herself without losing her composure. Her sword arm shook slightly, and a wound had opened in her hand. Bright red blood seeped from her wound. Enchanting lifted her eyes to look at the white-robed old man, and she frowned slightly. The deputy clan master of the ancient Yu clan's heavenly venerate power was much purer than that of Yu Tong and the other generals. Enchanting powers were at the peak of Yin Yang perfected Lord Eighth Heaven, and she was no match for him. It was unrealistic to expect to defeat the deputy clan master of the ancient Yu clan. Her only hope was to flee with little Yu Yun, otherwise, all the living things in this mainland would vanish, never to exist again. Boom! A cold light flashed across Enchanting's eyes. She did not retreat at all but waved her right arm. Her long sword continually slashed at the golden ripples. However, every time it struck, a huge repulsive force continually pushed back against Enchanting. You're pretty persistent. A faint smile hung on the white-robed old man's lips. He looked at Enchanting. Considering your abilities, I can kill you in an instant. Do you know why I haven't killed you? Enchanting did not reply but continued to slash at the golden ripples. The white-robed old man laughed coldly. I haven't killed you because you are an ant of an inferior mainland. You are not worthy for me to soil my hands. But it will be interesting to watch you struggle and die. Enchanting gritted her teeth. The palm of her right hand was completely cracked. Heavenly Demon Devouring. At that moment, Enchanting swiftly called up her Heavenly Demon Devouring power. She used her devouring bloodline to destroy the power within the golden ripples as her long sword slashed at them viciously. There was a huge boom, and the golden ripples were destroyed. At the same time, Enchanting moved with the speed of lightning. She scooped up little Yu Yun and little Luo Shuan and swiftly rushed into the void, fleeing as fast as she could. Only then did the white-robed old man snap out of his trance. The white-robed old man had not expected that this girl could actually destroy his shield. Humph, I underestimated you. However, you have successfully provoked me. You must die. The white-robed old man stood up. He raised his right arm. His heavenly venerate power gathered to form a long sword, which immediately pierced the clouds. The golden sword was extremely fast. So fast that it was invisible to the naked eye. Puff! In the void, Enchanting turned pale. A mouthful of hot blood spurted from her mouth. The sword that was formed by the accumulation of heavenly venerate power swiftly pierced Enchanting's right shoulder. Oh, my aim is off. The white-robed old man laughed softly when he saw what had happened. The next instant, he smiled slightly. You won't be so lucky this time. As he spoke, the golden sword appeared again, and this time, it was aimed directly at Enchanting's vitals. Swoosh! A piercing sound could be heard throughout the entire area, causing a strong wind to blow. When she saw that, Enchanting turned pale and immediately took out the Mirror of Illusions. Buzz! The Mirror of Illusions turned rapidly. The moment the golden sword was illuminated by the Mirror of Illusions, it was transformed into a few pieces of wood and fell from the void. Mirror of illusions. When he saw that, the white-robed old man was shocked. This girl actually had a treasure like the Mirror of Illusions. Based on your abilities, you can only use a treasure like that once. What are you going to do this time? The old man laughed coldly. He quickly raised his right hand, and another golden sword formed from the accumulation of heavenly venerate power appeared. It swiftly struck at Yi Qingtang's vitals. At that moment, Yi Qingtang was standing in the same spot, frowning deeply. The golden long sword was very fast, so fast that she could barely see it clearly, just as the white-robed old man said, as Yi Qingtang cultivation level was that of a yin-yang perfected lord, she could only use a treasure like the Mirror of Illusions once. She needed to wait a certain period of time before she could use it again. A perilous aura enclosed Yi Qingtang within the span of 2 breaths. The golden sword was mere inches away from her. Yi Qingtang almost reflexively shifted left. Swoosh! With a piercing sound, the golden sword swung past and pierced a mountain peak in the distance. Aha, you're pretty lucky, your natural reflexes saved you. Looks like you've often danced with death. For a girl, that's quite unusual. The white-robed old man laughed softly. Yi Qingtang frowned deeply, then turned, and fled. 1,000 miles away was a valley formed by 2 gorges. If she could just get there, she could vanish from the white-robed old man's line of sight. When she thought of that, Yi Qingtang used all her might and increased her speed to its limit. 800 miles, 500 miles, 200 miles, the gorge in front was just meters away. But at that moment, whiz! A frightening sound pierced the air. Puff! A golden sword swiftly pierced Yi Qingtang's body from behind. Yi Qingtang instantly turned pale. Copious amounts of blood seeped from her mouth, and she fell from the void. But her hand still gripped little Yu Yun and little Luo Shui tightly. At that moment, the little white tiger poked its head out of Yi Qingtang's robes. It smelled the strong scent of blood that lingered. Its snow-white fur was already covered with Yi Qingtang's blood. The little white tiger was shocked to see Yi Qingtang's tightly closed eyes. But before the little white tiger could move, Yi Qingtang opened her eyes again. Her brow was deeply furrowed. She forced down the blood that was rushing up her throat and swiftly passed through the gorge to enter an immense mountain range. Humph! You're about to die, and you're still struggling. The white-robed old man grunted coldly. He stepped through the void in the direction that Yi Qingtang had fled towards. Chapter 12-13 I will take on this tribulation for you. One Yi Qingtang landed on a yellow cliff in the mountain range. She stumbled and gently placed little Luo Shui and little Yu Yun on the ground. The moment she set the children down, she suddenly vomited a large mouthful of blood. The blood that sprayed out immediately stained the ground at her feet red. The little white tiger frantically jumped out of Yi Qingtang's robes. It studied Yi Qingtang carefully, its eyes filled with worry. Before little white tiger could speak, Yi Qingtang used the last of her strength to say, Take them away from this mainland. Fuck, don't talk like that. Well, go together. The little white tiger immediately enlarged itself and prepared to bring Yi Qingtang with it. However, Yi Qingtang shakily retreated. She looked at the little white tiger, and a bitter smile surfaced on her face. She shook her head. No need, it's too late. My meridians and internal organs are all shattered. The power of a heavenly venerate had shattered all her internal organs, and she had lost all her martial cultivation. Yi Qingtang had lasted until now by the sheer strength of her will. Yi Qingtang was aware of her own state. She had no strength to return to the void. She slowly sat on the ground and painfully raised her hand to wipe the traces of blood away from her lips. Ling Yan's image came to her mind unbidden. That jinx. He was right. Or perhaps she had reached the end of this life. Fuck. I said I'm bringing you, so that's it. White Tiger bellowed with rage. It tried to pick Enchanting up with its mouth but was unsure of where to grip her. Enchanting's state was such that any movement would only hasten her death. Take them, and go. Enchanting looked at the little white tiger and smiled. Little white one, thank you, for taking care of me all this while. At that moment, the awe-inspiring tiger was at a loss for words. Go quickly, or it will be too late. Enchanting tried to smile but discovered that she lacked the energy to do so. All right. I know. I'll take them and go. The little white tiger curled its tail and tossed little Luo Shui and little Yu Yun onto its back. It glanced back at Enchanting and then turned to leave. Enchanting finally relaxed when she saw the little white tiger vanish into the distance. Enchanting slowly sat down on a rock and enjoyed her last moments. Her mind was in a whirl. It was as if her life flashed past her in that instant. Her mind slowly started to blur, and her vision vanished. In Central Mainland, in the Eternal Dynasty. On a snowy mountain top, a green-robed man stood with his hands clasped behind his back. His remote eyes seemed to encompass everything in the universe. Ling Yan, you must not do it. The little azure dragon looked at the green-robed man and said frantically. It had thought that everything would go smoothly after Ling Yan came out of prison, but it had not foreseen that. However, Ling Yan did not respond. A karmic natal chart instantly surfaced. Enchanting's natal chart was at its end. When Enchanting had first obtained the inheritance of the divine phoenix, her natal chart had changed. The heart of the heavenly Tao had been sealed by the divine phoenix, which meant that Enchanting was fated to face a death tribulation. Ling Yan swiftly exchanged his complicated natal chart with Enchanting's natal chart. Ling Yan, are you really doing this for her? Is it worth it? The little azure dragon looked at Ling Yan in shock. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.